And we are up. Episode number 25. It's a big number.
Yes.
25.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. For me, and just so you know, put the same, actually probably more time into preparing for this one than others. Want to make sure you feel special.
Oh,
this
man.
is your special episode, Sarah.
Thank you.
And I got to tell you, before I introduce Sarah, I had a dream about the TARCOG last night, which is, I'm sure, odd. It was a combination of like 3 or 4 things. We just finished watching Reacher on Netflix or no, Prime, whatever.
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon. And that was, it was a good series, good first season.
Sure.
And for some reason, I guess characters in that show were in the dream. And then it's not that I'm like, the TARCOG is one of those where like, okay, I got to do some research.
Yes.
This is something that I don't know a lot about, and I got to do some research. So that was just kind of on my mind, and that mixed into the dream. And then I was on an international trip somewhere, and it was one of those things where you wake up and like, what was that all about?
Right. Yes.
What is wrong with me?
I have those dreams frequently.
Yeah.
I understand.
So Sara James is here, and last week, or I shouldn't say last week because there's going to be an episode in between. When I interviewed John Kovach, executive director of the Singing River Trail, we talked about the TARCOG, which is the top Alabama Regional Council of Governments.
Yes.
And actually, in episode 24, which is going to release tomorrow, Dylan James is from the Yellowhammer News, and he's from the very extreme northeastern portion of Alabama.
Okay.
Bryant,
Jackson County, yep.
Sand Mountain.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so I have been thinking a lot this week about the more I get used to the counties in Alabama, the regions of Alabama,
Right.
how the governments are structured. So I am personally excited for this episode to learn from Sara James, who is the, what is your title?
Economic Development and Planning Director.
Yep.
Yes.
Says it right there on the software
Yes.
for the TARCOG.
Yes.
How you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
No problem. But first things first, you're going on vacation tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah. This is kind of the final thing before I head out with my 3 kids to Florida Panhandle area. So we're excited to get away for a few days.
Which beach are you going to go to?
My understanding is we're near Blue Mountain Beach. It's a friend who invited us to join them on vacation. And, when a friend plans everything and says, you want to come, you say, sure. So we're excited. We'll drive down tomorrow and we'll drive back on Monday. So
is that part of I think I hear the reference to like 100 miles of beach on the Panhandle as far as Destin and Fort Walton.
Right. Yes.
Pensacola.
I think so. Yeah. So we've been down to Pensacola before. My husband, Navy pilot, took us down there to show us his old stomping grounds a couple of years ago. But otherwise, I have not been down anywhere else on the Panhandle. So I'm excited to explore further. I guess it'd be further into Florida than Pensacola. So
do your kids all like the water?
Yes.
Do they love the beach?
Yes, they love the beach. We're definitely beach vacation folks. Yes.
Okay. What's like the routine? I know it's going to be a little different when you go with friends.
Right.
But if it's just your family, what's kind of the sun comes up?
Yes.
And the sun goes down. What's the order of like operations?
Oh, definitely beach right after breakfast, hit the beach early. And then, we usually will come break for lunch, kind of get out of the sun for a while. The good news is this area that we're staying at has a pool. So the kids love the pool too. So we'll kind of mix it up and do both beach and pool. And then obviously just awesome seafood for dinner. My kids love seafood. So we're excited to hit some different places down there with our friends. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be good.
What about dessert? There's last year we did our Key West, well, actually all of the Keys, and we ate key lime pie every night.
Oh my gosh.
We ordered it just to do see who had the best, key lime. But is that something, well, maybe not dessert, but just in general, is that fried shrimp? Is it oysters, clams?
Shrimp boil, fried, anything. Actually, about desserts, my kids are obsessed with snow cones lately. We got a snow cone machine, so I'm sure we'll find some places to get some snow cones while we're down there. I don't know why, but something about a 7, a 5, and a 3-year-old, they love snow cones. So we're all snow cones all the time in my house. So.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it makes the ice, and then you just order the flavoring.
Yeah,
the syrups.
You can order the flavoring off Amazon, and they love it, all the different colors and all that. So
yeah, what can't get off Amazon, right? You get a snow cone machine, you can get anything.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. Before we go too far, I wanted to start with TARCOG.
Yes.
And I want to bring up similar to what we did with the Singing River Trail, I'm going to bring up the graphic of the state of Alabama.
Right.
And I have one immediate question, but I'm not going to ask that question. That's my question, but I want to let you kind of explain the 12 councils of government throughout the state. Give kind of the high level, what is it, elevator speech to someone who's like, I'm sorry, what is this?
Sure. Do it all the time. No problem. Yes. So Top of Alabama Regional Council of Governments is a mouthful. So we say TARCOG. We are one of 12 councils of government in the state of Alabama. These councils of government were kind of instituted in the late 1960s to help with planning, economic development, other regional issues, convening regional entities or local entities together in a regional way to kind of think about bigger projects related to community and economic development. We are also state mandated as the Area Agency on Aging. So I like to say TARCOG has two sides to our house. We have the Area Agency on Aging that provides a plethora of aging services to our aging folks in the region, everything from Meals on Wheels, senior center activities. There's a senior RX prescription program that helps folks find discounts on their medications. We do a whole Medicaid waiver case management program. So there's a whole, we are 75 strong, and I want to say like 60 of our staff work on the aging side. My side is the economic development and planning side, and we are the Regional Planning Commission, which was defined by the state back in the 60s. We are also the Economic Development District. That's an EDA, or U.S. Economic Development Administration designation. And so we have certain requirements under that umbrella that we have to do, like creating a regional comprehensive economic development strategy, helping folks apply for EDA funding for different projects. We're also the ARC, or Appalachian Regional Commission, designated local development district for our region, and that's because we fall in the Appalachian region, which is a 13-state, 420-county region. I used to work for the Appalachian Regional Commission in D.C., and then we also receive funding from the Alabama Department of Transportation to do transportation planning activities as the Rural Planning Organization, which is the rural counterpart to the Huntsville-Madison MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. And that we just convene partners on transportation planning efforts. So we do a lot. I know it's a lot to kind of digest, but I'm hoping that, through the visuals we have today, the pictures, we can kind of explain some of those projects and what that really means. But yes, we serve 5 counties, 46 municipalities in our region. They are all dues-paying members. And so we bring everybody together on big projects and regional visioning.
Here's a couple of observational questions.
Sure.
First, do the counties that participate in each region, do the boundaries change from time to time?
County boundaries typically don't change. No, they pretty much have been set in stone. I mean, there may be a little bit here or there for some really random reason, but not to my knowledge.
Or what region they're in? What can
they go into
like
a
Lauderdale
different
County end up in Region 12 instead of Region 1?
Nope, these are all the same as they have been, to my knowledge. There's been talk of some of them being, redefined, but that's never happened. I think that these 12 cogs are kind of how they've been since the 60s.
And do you know, I had all the intention in the world to do the research on this, but were they chosen, was it based on kind of population in the aggregate?
Yep.
That's why you see kind of down in the Mobile area, okay, you just have 3 counties based on population, and then up in Huntsville is a smaller subset. We have 5, but then I look over there, Region 11 only has 3 counties. So
yeah,
was it mostly just population density?
That's a good question. I want to say yes. I'm sure a lot of politics had a play in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I want to say that's probably how it happened. When I worked at ARC, when they first established the Appalachian Regional Commission, the 420 counties stretched from New York all the way to Mississippi. And I remember kind of the story of certain counties. You kind of see like a county kind of on the outset of the region. You're like, how did that get pulled in? And that was probably a specific, congressman or someone lobbying to be in the ARC region. So I'm sure that politics played a role in some regard, but most likely it's probably pretty population based. As you can see, some of the larger cogs are on our western and eastern sides where it's a bit more rural. The Black Belt region, they have quite a few counties down there. There's not a ton of population in those areas. So.
What's the name of Region 1?
Oh, you're going to quiz me.
Well, and I have a...
Oh, NACOG. So, yeah, Northwest Council of Local Governments, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my observational question is, with the top, ours being considered the top Alabama regional.
Yep.
But that kind of Lauderdale should, by definition, fit into what considered the top, right? The entire...
Yeah.
But it does not necessarily include the top
Yep.
line, geography.
Yeah, and I think, now that I'm looking at the top North Alabama ones, I think also like the major metropolitan statistical areas played a role. So obviously NACOG in the number 1 location, that's all the Shoals area. Number 11 is NARCOG, North Central Regional Council of Local Governments or Council of Governments. That's the Decatur area. Those are the counties kind of in and around Decatur. And then we are obviously the Huntsville COG. So I have to believe that both population and kind of MSA locations played a role in how they were defined way back when. Yeah.
Now I'm going to switch over to the org chart thing that you provided me.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's probably a more eloquent explanation of all the things I was trying to explain that we do.
Yeah, so you had talked about the area agency on aging,
right? So this org chart is just for my division, just for economic development and planning. So this doesn't even get into the aging side of things, and that could be a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
Sure.
So these are the different things we are funded or kind of designated to do. So obviously, I mentioned the economic development district. That's the first column, and then underneath, kind of the orange, is all the things we do under that bucket, under that category. So as the EDA designated economic development district, we do project development and grant writing and grant administration, right? So similar for ARC, local development district. It was sort of like EDA and ARC at the federal level wanted their own things, right? We wanted to be called different things. So, but those are very similar, and we do a lot kind of similarly in those columns. Then I mentioned the transportation work we do, kind of the counterpart to the MPO. That's the ALDOT designated RPO in the middle. And then we do a lot of planning services, and I didn't mention this before. We are that sub-state planning district that we showed you on that map prior slide. And so under that, for all of our dues-paying members, we can make maps. We can help them with a comprehensive plan or a downtown plan. We can help them with zoning updates. We do a lot of that right now with just how fast our region is growing and how many of these smaller outlying towns want to be prepared to absorb that growth or be ready with their zoning. So when people come and say, hey, we want to build X, Y, or Z here, their zoning is updated accordingly. And then we can help enforce those codes. And we don't do as much of that right now, but I would like to do more of that moving forward, because your zoning code is only as good as its enforcement, obviously. Yeah. And then finally, we are also a revolving loan fund. So we have funding from the state to give out to small businesses for very, simple loans for, expanding a business or starting up a business, provided they meet our criteria. We provide a lot of loan making in that fund. That's maybe slightly riskier that maybe a local bank might not take on, or maybe they want to partner with us on. So we've funded things like Papa Euros on University Drive. They have a loan with us. We've done some different loans for other food businesses, some little local chiropractor places and things like that. So people will come to us and inquire about a loan through our revolving loan fund as well.
So speaking of funds, so then you receive all your funds from the state government, and then the state is receiving them through different federal grants. And then ultimately at the state level, what's kind of that parent organization or funding arm for TARCOG?
So a lot of our funding comes through the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs, or ADECA. Okay. But we also receive federal funds directly from federal agencies as well. So we have both federal and state grants in our purview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in each, give me an idea. I know that Huntsville is one thing, Mobile is another. We have some really rural areas. When it comes to within the counties, so
Yes.
let's just talk about TARCOG.
Sure.
And we'll go back to that picture of the 5 counties: Limestone, Madison, Jackson, Marshall,
and DeKalb.
Man, I got to get glasses.
I know, it's really small. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm at that age now where I realize I can't see things as well.
Right.
Is it primarily then you have your towns? They have their mayor. They have a town council.
Yes.
Are there other entities or organizations beyond just kind of those two entities in a particular county and all
Sure.
the municipalities?
Yeah, I mean, our predominant, I like to say we're a local government consultant, and so we predominantly work with mayors and counties, commissions, but it's not to say we can't work with others. And often we work, usually it's with, we'll do a lot with the county EMAs. We did a regional hazard mitigation plan where we work with the emergency management agencies within the county. We work with other nonprofits to find funding, usually like convention and visitors bureaus. We did a project with the Marshall County Convention and Visitors Bureau where we got some grant funding for them. It just depends, but predominantly, yes, we do typically work directly with the mayors. And what I'd like to say is, of our 46 municipalities, obviously we have Huntsville, the biggest fish in the sea. And then, our next largest communities might be the Athens, the Scottsboroughs, the Gunnersvilles of the world. Of our 46 municipalities, I want to say more than half of them are under 2,000 population. So we are working with very small municipalities. The Ardmores, Mooresvilles of the world. Leicester is a town in Limestone County we work with. We're working with these much smaller communities that all they have is like a part-time town clerk and the mayor and the town council, and they're all volunteer.
Right.
And so they sort of look at us like, what can we do? How can we get our roads repaved?
Right.
How can we get a sidewalk?
Right.
Help us. And so that's where we really fit the best, is we're in those more limited capacity places. We do a ton with Scottsboro. We do a bunch with Athens, sure. A ton with Gunnersville. Love Mayor Dollar. Love working with her. But really where we fit best is in those much smaller places where it's true rural economic development of how do we make this a better place? How do we make people want to live here? And then drive in and out for work in Huntsville or wherever else. But yeah, we go out, we work with Mentone out in DeKalb County a lot. We've done a lot with their zoning because they're just seeing a ton of growth out there. It just depends. But we typically work with the smaller communities in our region.
So let's give a shout out to the Singing River Trail, and the sticker is on your mug there. So John Kovach loves to see the logo paraded around the area. And so talk just real quick. Let's talk about the Singing River Trail. And how much involvement do you have personally, and then other than personally, how much is the TARCOG involved in helping with John?
Yes.
Let's kind of tie that together.
Okay. Yes, let's tie this together in the sense that, as John explained, Singing River Trail was born out of Launch 2035, right? And I want to talk about that in the sense that our TARCOG's former executive director, Nancy Robertson, she is the current co-chair, along with Dr. Joe Donato, of the Land Use Committee under Launch 2035. And Nancy's tireless efforts are what made the Singing River Trail what it is today and got the funding available to be able to hire John. So back when we were still just kind of formulating the idea for Singing River Trail, this was before my time I was at TARCOG, the planning staff at TARCOG did a lot of the preliminary work to, define, okay, where are the existing trails and what could this be for that 3-county idea, the initial idea. And so TARCOG was at, I kind of want to say like TARCOG was at the ground level for Singing River Trail even before John and I ever knew each other. Now that there's John and he's been hired and he's just off to the races, he and I, we work a lot in our region. I'll either help introduce him to mayors, and then they can have conversations about how the trail can go through their communities or what grants we can help them apply for. But John and I kind of always are on the phone together, texting, calling about different opportunities, different ideas. I've helped him kind of understand the EDA opportunities, the ARC opportunities, other federal opportunities that might be relevant, not just to a specific community along the trail, but for the Singing River Trail as a whole, funding he might be able to go after. We do a lot together. I'd say I'm sort of I like to joke that I'm a pro bono consultant for the Singing River Trail. But yeah, we have a direct line of communication where we're just always pitching different ideas and say, what about this? Or could we do this? And how could we get this person involved? And if he ever is having trouble with a community in our region, which was never really happens, but he'll say, hey, can you help me get in a meeting with this mayor? Or could we sit down with these group of people? So we're very involved. We're really excited. My whole team is all in on Singing River Trail, and we'll do anything we can to help get the trail on the ground and make sure that it happens. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't checked that out, shame on you. They should be watching episode 23.
Yes.
And there's some big announcements coming out that he references.
Yes.
Right? There's a lot of excitement there.
Yeah, he's done an incredible job, especially during a pandemic and when folks are kind of, the world's turned upside down. What he was been able to do in his short time in that position has been incredible. And I really loved his explanation of like, he doesn't care if it's the western part of the trail or the eastern part or what, mayor is, fighting with other mayors or what, it's not about that. It's about, trail for everyone. And that's how I operate in our region as well. Is like, it's just about, rising tide lifts all boats. It's about getting something that's going to be significant and important to the region. And everyone's going to benefit from it in some way, right?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't directly go through your community, it's going to bring people here and they're going to want to explore further, right? So I'm excited about the trail, and I hope the forward momentum continues, and I think it will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a quick segue. This is just mostly to tie together the upcoming episodes.
Yes.
Where thanks to Dr. Joe Donato.
Yes.
He's been helping to kind of tie together a little more strategy in the episodes we're doing. This should be very familiar to you.
Yes.
Some viewers, kind of like me, as a month ago, wasn't familiar with the Committee of 100. So John Allen's going to be the guest next week. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk to Ethan Woodruff, who's leading up the North Alabama Zoological Society, trying to bring a zoo to Huntsville.
Yep.
And then John Joseph from the Decatur, Morgan County Entrepreneurial Center.
Excellent. Yep.
And then Rob Hamilton. And I know your husband was a dear friend of Rob.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that later. But he's the current president of Launch 2035. Mm-hmm. You referenced that in the Singing River Trail being born out of that.
Yes.
The creation of that back in, 2015 or so.
Yep.
And then a little bit unrelated, Britt Silcox, Bright Eyed Brands. I've met her at a couple of the Trash Pandas mixers.
Cool.
They do a good job of bringing small business together to Toyota Field and to give them an opportunity to showcase their products and services to the business community here.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a snapshot of what's coming up.
Can I just say really quickly,
absolutely.
just the layered approach of this and seeing how everyone kind of connects, that just highlights to me what makes this region so special and how everyone is kind of mixing and mingling in different ways. Obviously, Rob and Joe, they have their day jobs, but they're so committed to Launch 2035, and the Committee on 100 brings all these business entities together to look at regional efforts. It's just, I love how everyone looks regional and says, yes, we all came here. We love Huntsville. This is a great city, but then you look around and you say, this is a great region as a whole, right? And it's a great North Alabama. It's a great Tennessee River Valley. And so I'm just excited about the regional collaboration. And there's big things coming with Launch 2035. I'm part of that land use committee. Singing River Trail's off on its way. It's already going. John's done a great job with that. And so now we're kind of looking to what's our next big project. And so Dr. Joe Donato, Nancy Robertson, those folks that are leading that committee, they're looking towards another big kind of land use focus to dig in on with all those regional partners moving forward.
And what's interesting, just going back to the screen, not to make this about myself, but as far as I actually, I'd rather just have the camera on you as a guest or on the two of us rather than just on me. And I don't even look at the camera. But I don't know what the order would have been. A lot of it depends on people's availability. Yeah. So you look at this, and in perfect world, maybe we would have had Rob on first for 2035 and kind of laid out this vision. But it is what it is, and this is the order we're going to go in. And there's going to be a lot of other interviews that spawn from this, right? That are other important organizations or entities that are involved and work with you all on a consistent basis.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, enough of, let's pause there.
Okay, sure.
Because now we get to the part of the story of, all right, well, she's doing this land use development. She's in economic development. How did Sara James get here?
Oh, gosh.
So here's what we know. Maiden name was Hoffman, Sarah Hoffman.
Yes.
Right? And so now talk about where you were born. Let's kind of, and we'll talk about your childhood a little bit and go from there.
Sure, yeah. I was born in Kansas City on the Missouri side, but we quickly moved to the Kansas side, Overland Park, Kansas, and was there until I was 14 years old, until we moved to Houston, Texas for my mom's job. She got a great job offer to work for Hewlett-Packard, formerly Compaq. She started when they were Compaq, and then they got bought out by Hewlett-Packard. But
my first PC was a Compaq.
Oh, yeah? Good.
And it was, it was $1,000.
Yeah.
And I think it had 64 megs of that. It's like a 64 meg hard drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so slow. But.
Yeah. Well, so if you can imagine, she relocated 3 kids and her husband's entire home office. My dad was a professional photographer and we had a dark room in our basement growing up, and he had a great small business in Kansas City. So if you can imagine that she uprooted all of us out of school, everything, to move all the way to Houston, Texas. And then I think less than 6 months in, she comes to find out that Compact's getting bought out by Hewlett Packard, and she's like, am I going to have a job? I mean, I just relocated my entire family, so there was a moment of stress, but she retired a couple years ago. I mean, she was high up in their in-house legal department at the end. I want to say she was a senior vice president or something like that. So she stuck it out and rode through Hewlett Packard for many, many years and did really great work with them. But
that happened when you were like between freshman and sophomore year.
Between freshman and sophomore year.
All
so
right.
if you can imagine, you're starting to get into high school, you're feeling out your new friend groups and all of that. And then, this whole idea, I probably started about halfway through my freshman year, the idea of, are we going to move or not? And then sure enough, in the summer, we ended up moving down. But I was actually really excited about it. Most freshmen would be like, no, I want to stay with my friends. I want to stay where I know everyone. I've always been excited about new opportunity, new adventure. I've never been scared to, wanting to stay put. So we moved down, and I went to an all women's, high school, Duchette Academy of the Sacred Heart in Houston, graduated with 49 girls, but loved it. Had
There's
a great
the
time.
webpage right there.
Oh my goodness. You are quite the investigative journalist. I love it.
Well, you actually told me a lot of this in an email.
Yeah, true. I did reveal some stuff. But no, so excellent school, loved it. And it's kind of funny. Duchenne really set me on a different trajectory, if you will. I didn't get great grades in freshman year. I was more focused on hanging out with my friends, playing basketball. I was the jock. I was the sports nut. I didn't really care about school. And so, I don't know, something about resetting and going somewhere new where they really emphasized education, it really put me on a whole different, pathway, I think.
Were your friends jocks too?
Yeah. So growing up in Kansas City, we all played basketball. Basketball was it, right? So it's a Midwest sport. Everyone wants to play basketball, right? And I thought I was freshman year. I'm like, I'm gonna work so hard at this throughout high school that I'm gonna play in college, and I wanted to be power forward, moving forward, all of that. And so when we moved, I think I told you this before when we were chatting, but when we moved down to Houston in the summer, my mom got me with the basketball girls to kind of like introduce me to my new school, and they're all playing summer ball. And they said, well, we all play volleyball in the fall before winter basketball just to stay in shape, and it's fun, and we're all on the same team. There's not many of us anyways. We all need to play the sports to fill the teams. And I said, I'm not a volleyball player.
Yeah. I'm
a basketball player. I'm going to just play basketball. But I went ahead and did. Sophomore year, never having really played volleyball before at all. And it's what took me to college. I was recruited to play in college. Several different schools recruited me to play volleyball. Ended up playing at Smith College in Western Mass, Northampton, Massachusetts. And I pretty much selected that school just because it was the best education I could receive while also playing a college sport. So also all women's, not intentional, but I did 8 years of all women's education, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So
actually, let me jump back to the internet and the website, because I want to read this opening paragraph where it says, as an all-girls school, it's Duchesne, right?
Yeah.
Duchesne Academy provides an unparalleled opportunity for girls to learn, grow, become leaders, and achieve their dreams. We see it every day on campus, and research from across the country demonstrates that girls' school graduates have an edge. You agree with that?
I do, yeah. It sounds really contrite, but it's sort of the idea of like eliminating distraction and like the fact that I could just roll out of bed in the morning and go straight to school and not worry what I looked like, or just I don't know. It just, don't get me wrong.
The uniformity of it.
Yeah, the uniformity of it, the ability to not be shy and not want to hide when you had the answer in class. I wonder about that for girls, in co-ed education, if maybe you want to just kind of not speak up when you need to speak up. This just was a platform where you could say anything, do anything, and I loved it. Duchesne was a great program and a great school. Still is. It's fun. A lot of my girls I graduated with now have their daughters there. So it's very much one of those schools where you kind of have that cyclical, generational girls going back from when their moms went there too.
Are there other locations throughout the country? Do they have other? I thought I saw one. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know if it was Arkansas or somewhere, but
yeah. So the Sacred Heart school system. It's it's a Catholic school. Typically all women's program, but yes, there's a whole Sacred Heart school system throughout the country. I think there used to be more than there are now. I think they might be dwindling a little bit, but we had programs where we met up with girls from Sacred Heart schools in Louisiana or other places, and they'd come to our school or we would visit theirs. So there's a bunch of them around.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about your basketball career before we go into your volleyball career.
Yeah.
But what are some highlights from your basketball career? By the way, are you 6 foot?
I'm 5'11".
5'11", okay.
Yeah, with shoes on.
Okay.
Oh gosh, career. Oh, it's been so long.
There's got to be some game or some tournament that just kind of cycles through your mind from time to time, and when you think about your glory days.
Yeah.
Right, we all do it. Mm-hmm. Give me something that's on that list of, man, I wish I was in high
Sure.
school or middle school again.
Yeah, sure. So in freshman year in Kansas City, I went to also an all-women's school, Notre Dame de Sion in Kansas City. It's the school my sister graduated from. And freshman year, I made the junior varsity team, and the junior varsity and the varsity team would practice together, and we would always support each other at the games, right? That year, the varsity team went to state, and I actually got to dress for state championship, which they won. So my name was on the roster. I didn't get to play. I was the best, cheerleader on the bench, but I just to be in that where we played at, I think, University of Missouri, on the big stadium. I just remember that distinctly of being like, wow, like I'm only a freshman and here I am. And then, so that was like kind of my trajectory of, had I stayed there, I could have made varsity, I could have played basketball, and we were on a really great team with a great coach. But that changed when I moved to Houston and obviously pivoted to volleyball. It was just, playing, the traveling teams, the AAU teams, those had a lot of great camps I went to. My parents were always putting us in summer camps, probably just to have us something to do during the summer.
I got great parents, and now they're just actually kind of sick of you.
But I remember going to the KU basketball camps. I remember going to all the local college camps and just learning so much from those girls and looking at those college girls like, I want to be you one day,
Yeah.
But then, and then pivoting to volleyball in Texas, I think, like a lot of your guests, I've listened to some of your podcasts. It's like, whenever I do something, I want to do it well, right?
Yeah.
So when I was doing volleyball, and they're like, oh yeah, we just do this. It's just what we all do. I got pretty frustrated pretty fast that I was like, if I'm going to do it, I want to be good at it. And so I talked to my mom about it, and she found a local traveling team, volleyball team, that was offering, what were they called? Clinics on the weekends, like improve your, setting, or improve your hitting skills or your blocking skills. And so she signed me up for one of these clinics and just thought, oh, you'll learn some skills, so you'll be better at it, and you'll feel better about, playing. And at the end of the clinic, I went to one clinic for like 3 hours, one Saturday morning. The end of the clinic, I'm 15 years old. The coach comes over, the head coach of this traveling team, Houston Juniors, comes over to me and says, all right, so I remember distinctly, she said, I want my Christmas shopping to be over early this year. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, I want you on my 18 and unders team. And I'm like, I'm 15. And she's like, I don't care. You're going to fit on that team. You're going to be on the 18 and unders traveling team. And I mean, we were traveling every weekend.
Wow.
And it was just this like critical moment where you're just like, I went here just to learn.
You've been playing for a month.
Yeah, maybe a couple months. And she wants me to join this 18 and unders team. First of all, it was a conversation with my parents of like, can I? Is this okay? And then we traveled. We had tournaments in Vegas. We had tournaments in California. We went to Chicago for a tournament. All over the state of Texas and the South, and Louisiana and stuff. But it just changed my whole trajectory in the sense that those were those traveling tournaments were where you met coaches and I remember playing in these big arenas and. College coaches would just be like lined around like with their clipboards, like assessing who they wanted to reach out to or whatnot. But if it weren't for going to that clinic and having that coach kind of spot me for that team, I likely would not have been playing volleyball in college at all. So
Wow.
it was a cool experience for sure. And it taught me a lot in life management. Like, you have to get your homework done because you're going to be traveling this weekend and all of that kind of stuff. Just, you had to kind of grow up fast, and also being around 17-year-old girls when I don't know, it was a bit of a different, they're all seniors and going off to college, and I'm like the little one on the team. So it was just a really cool experience to kind of open my eyes to what's out there and what I could do, in college and that kind of thing. So
I want to just tell you, this is somewhat a tangential story, but something you brought up, and I tricked my kids the other day. So you're talking about dressing out. When I was a freshman in high school, this was 1990. Okay. So this is basically pre-internet. So anything you find on the internet, someone had to go through the trouble of just saying, I want to make sure that this football game from 1990 can be watched.
Right.
So I thank all those people who do that, because some of us have to go way in the way back machine.
Yeah.
But our coach, the varsity coach, dressed out all the JV for homecoming. And then he picked 10 freshmen to dress out for this homecoming game, which in the town that I was from was a big deal. The dance was not Friday night. You had a parade in the morning.
Yeah.
The whole town came for the parade.
Oh.
The game was at 1, and then the dance and all that was that night. Okay. So as a freshman, I was one of the 10 that got selected. We already didn't mix with the team because we had different helmets and different color sets in our jerseys and all that. And we weren't going to play, but it was just a thrill to participate in pregame warm-ups and all that, and to watch the game and to be there for the breakfast and everything. I think there was even a dinner the night before. It was all these things that you can't wait to be a varsity player. Right. You get a little taste of it. But I tricked my kids the other day because I found this game. And I see myself on the sideline.
Yes.
And like, oh, there I am. So I sent it to my kids, I think my daughter watched like half of the game. She's like, what number are you? I'm like, I'm not in the game. I'm on the sideline. She's like, oh, you tricked me. I just wasted like 45 minutes of my life. It's like, oh, thanks for watching it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's awesome.
But yeah, I can't find anything. But so with volleyball, all right. So I didn't really find any sort of footage of you in high school.
Yeah.
But when you went to Smith College up in Massachusetts.
Oh God.
This is a star. Sarah Hoffman was a star. Now so these are a couple things I found. Let's see. I believe this is in the. Do you remember this? Do you remember seeing these kinds of articles? You were up. Let's see. Number 4 Smith College stunned host and number 1 seed MIT. You've got to remember this.
Yes.
And this might have been your sophomore year. Okay, there you are. It's second paragraph. Sammy Lyon and Sarah Hoffman each contributed 3 blocks, as Megumi Sasaki totaled 2 aces.
Yes.
And then Lauren Perry distributed 24 assists and posted 4 aces. So how was that? Was it a pretty electric crowd when you stunned number 1 MIT?
Yes. So NUMAC semifinals. We actually won the NUMAC tournament that took us to the NCAA Division III championships. I think it was this year. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 2005. So this was kind of our Cinderella season. Kate Sorensen, yes. Lauren Perry, yes. So their senior year, we went to the championships and we had a phenomenal year. That was the same year I tore my ACL.
Ooh.
So earlier in the season, I'm warming up for one of our games and I tear my ACL, also at MIT, which is random, but, and, do some rehab and recognize I have to have surgery, but end up going back on a knee brace and playing the rest of the season.
Oh.
The thought process back then being, well, if I'm going to have surgery anyways, I might as well. Probably not a great idea, the 19-year-old brain or however old I was.
I would have done the same thing.
But just because we were having such a Cinderella season and because it was such a great vibe on the court. I think I said this to you as well. Like I thrive in team environments. I thrive when all the team is just working together so well. And this year was that year, and it was like that magic in a bottle,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we went on to win NUMAC and then go to the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, we lost first round, sadly, but at least we said we got there.
Where was it?
It was
the first round.
Colby,
Colby.
in Northeast or in Maine.
Yeah, I've been by that campus.
I think it was Colby.
Yeah.
But I remember it was up in Maine because I was like, I've never been to Maine. This will be another state I can cross off my list. But
And that was in the winter?
yeah, it was towards like November. Yeah, it was cold. But just an awesome experience. Great group of girls. We'd all come up to Smith before school even started and do 2-a-days, sometimes 3-a-day practices.
Yeah.
And I remember my freshman year coming up there like a month early to do 2-a-days and 3. When the volleyball season was over, I looked around and was like, I have to find other friends, right? Like, because I just like hung out with the volleyball team the whole time, and I remember thinking like, I don't really know much about my school or where my friends, where my other friends will come from, but it was a great group of girls, and we had a wonderful time and an excellent coach.
Let's see what else I got here for you.
Oh gosh.
So this is when you made all conference in 2006.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. I believe it's down at the bottom, very last sentence.
This was Sarah Hoffman.
May was joined on the NUMAC second team by teammate Francis Rogos, Coast Guard's Corinne McCormack, Mount Holyoke's Emily Groth, and Smith's Sarah Hoffman and Catherine Schaefer.
Oh my gosh, this is taking me back.
So you killed it that year.
Yeah, we had a great group of girls. It was a great time. It was just, I don't know, college sports are just it's just so fun. Like I would just recommend it to anyone. And I don't, I'm not trying to pressure my kids or anything by any means to like follow in that, but just something about that camaraderie and having these things to look back on.
What was your role on the team? If I was to interview players that played with you and they talked about what Sarah brought to the team, was it leadership? Was it just drive and dedication?
Yeah.
What was it about you? Let's brag about Sarah.
I would hope they'd say leadership. I like to think that I've always been a natural leader and always wanted to kind of, bring that to the table. But, all of the above. I like I said before, like anything I do, I want to do well. I want to go into it and make sure I'm putting my best foot forward. So, I'd hope that they would say that I was a leader on the team. I didn't play my senior year. I actually opted to take a semester in Washington program where I could intern and write a thesis. So I kind of made a tough decision after my knee surgery, where I decided, volleyball is not going to be the rest of my life. I need to actually get something on my resume. So
you went out on top.
I did go out on top. Exactly. Yeah.
Good for you.
But so all that is to say, my senior year, I didn't play, so I didn't get to become a team captain. But I would have hoped that in my senior year, I would have been a team captain. But I'd say I'd like to think I was a leader. I was a lefty. I am a lefty, so I was always on the other side of the court, and that was always a fun kind of to be the right side hitter. It was always a cool position. I liked playing that position. So
here, Wellesley wins this title in this year in 2006.
Oh, Seven Sisters, yes.
Let's see, you are down here. Here it is. For Smith, Sarah Hoffman from Houston, Texas, led the Pioneers with 14 kills.
Yes. Yeah. Yay.
So you were one of the leaders on kills? Actually, let me just jump to this. This is the Smith College Volleyball Record Book.
Oh my gosh, where did you find?
Oh, this is internet. It's amazing. And there you are, an attack percentage. You're ranked number 3 all time. And I believe this is pretty up to date.
Wow. Look at that.
Look at you.
This is amazing. This is making me so happy. I really appreciate it.
Hey, welcome. This is like in episode 1, I showed some stuff to Ricky Fernandez.
Yeah.
And I asked him a question. He had scored 2 touchdowns his senior year. And I was like, I know for a fact that you can tell me exactly what happened. He's like, oh, yeah, for sure. So he walked me through those. And then I showed him a bunch of stats that are online through this website. And he was like, I didn't know this existed. I was like, dude, have fun, right?
Yeah.
You can start pulling up yourself.
Wow. Very cool.
But I think that is, you're no slouch.
No, I had fun. It was I don't know. I love the game. If I could still play it, I would.
Let's go past college. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Into the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we're at in the story.
Yep. So I kind of got a taste of Washington, D.C. in that semester in Washington program that I applied for. During that program, I worked for the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works. Working on Capitol Hill is just, that you're in awe of how our local or our national government works, and you're just walking the halls with senators.
So how were you made aware of this? Was it through a professor, a teacher?
Yeah, so it's a Smith College program, and so I was studying political science, and so one of my political science professors kind of enlightened me to. He thought, you might be really interested in this. Most people do it their junior years and not their senior years, so it's the summer before the school year, and then into the fall semester as well. So I was in DC the fall semester of my senior year.
Oh, wow.
Come back and finish off my spring semester of senior year and graduate, and then go promptly back to DC. The whole time, studying political science in undergrad, thought I wanted to be a lawyer. My mom's a lawyer. She was kind of not so subtly encouraging me in that direction. And no, but truly, that's, I thought, where my brain was at. And I thought, let me go and work for a little while before I go directly. I didn't want to go directly into law school from undergrad.
What kind of housing were you in when you were in high school there? Were you on campus?
Oh, at Smith?
No, when you went on your intern to DC, when you were
yeah. So we just found, I think we used Craigslist, honestly, back when Craigslist was not so sketchy, I guess. No, but I think it was a group of, I want to say 10 or 12 of us that got selected for this program. And we all kind of, banded together and said, hey, 3 of us go into this house or 4 of us go into this house. And so I lived on Capitol Hill in a row home with a few girls, and, strength in numbers and all that. We were safe. And we had a kind of a program advisor that kind of checked in on us and made sure we were doing okay locally. But yeah, so worked for Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, which was awesome. And then I also worked for Earth Justice, which was an environmental law firm. Also awesome. Really great experiences, really just propelled me in that direction. So as soon as I graduated from Smith, a couple of friends and I, we decided DC is for us. That's where we're headed. Mm-hmm. We told our parents, we're going to make this happen. Found paralegal jobs, right? Because there's a ton of law firms in DC and they all need paralegals.
Yeah.
And so I got this, my first firm I worked at was antitrust firm. And I mean, we were doing things, the fixing, it was we were reading briefs on the price of milk or the price of plastics that go into things. It was all very cerebral,
It's exciting.
I mean, not for right straight out of college. You're just wait, what are we going against, and what is this going to mean for people? So kind of realized I didn't really love that world, and thought maybe if I pivot to a different firm, maybe that'll make me want to go to law school. And so I went to this other smaller boutique law firm where they were more on the appellate level, and actually got to file a brief that I edited with the Supreme Court, which was amazing and really cool to do that and see that in action. But again, still was not really excited about the idea of law school. So I think we all have that moment in our early 20s where we're what are we going to do with our lives? What should I do? Where should I head?
If you had gone to law school, were you thinking of GW there in DC?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was, you obviously have to take the LSAT in order to apply. And so my friends that I was roommates with, we would all kind of try to encourage each other. Okay, we really should study for the LSAT. We really should. And finally, you get to a point a year or two into it where you're really not studying. You're there's something here explaining to us that maybe this isn't the best path for us, right? Mm-hmm. And so, because we all had that idea of okay, we'll go, we'll work, we'll live together, we'll be paralegals for a little while, and we'll encourage each other and then study together for the LSAT, and then we'll go off to law school. But yeah, Georgetown was always a consideration. I would have loved to go to Georgetown Law if I decided that path, but remembered that I had taken a lot of environmental science and policy courses, urban planning courses in undergrad, and remembered how much I enjoyed that, and had some mentors that I'd talked to about, different opportunities of things I wanted that were out there outside of law, and had somebody that I spoke to over coffee that said, oh, you should really check out this new program. It's sustainable urban planning. It's at George Washington University. They just started it up a year or two ago. And it just was this light bulb that went off. And so that's where I ended up going to get my graduate degree, is GW's Sustainable Urban Planning Program, and did night school while still working as a paralegal full time for quite some time, which was just madness. But you do what you got to do when you're trying to pay rent and go to grad school.
Were you riding the metro between work and GW, Foggy Bottom?
Yeah. Well, so the grad program was actually out in Reston.
Oh, that's right.
So I was in downtown DC where I would work, hop the metro out to Reston, have class from 6 to 9 p.m., hop the metro back from Reston down to Alexandria, where I was living at the time. So I was constantly on the metro that year or two. I mean, I was living on the metro, doing my homework on the metro, reading on the metro, because I mean, every day, metroing into work, out of work, to school, out of school, a lot of time on the DC Metro.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Gosh, I have so many Metro stories, but I remember because GW had a campus. They also had one off of Route 7 in Sterling.
Yeah.
That was there for years.
Yeah.
But when my first real job was with SEIC in Tyson's Corner in 1999. And I was doing my undergrad, but I was kind of already starting to look at like the master's route.
Yeah.
And they offered a a master's in system engineering on like the 9th floor of the building I worked in. I was like, this would be amazing. Like I work on the 2nd floor.
Wow.
And I could just go up the elevator to school and get my master's, and they would pay for it. But I just never pursued it.
Right. Yeah.
But GW, now that you think about it, it's like, man, they did a really good job of like way before distance learning.
Yes.
And remote learning, but doing a really good job of kind of spreading out in a metropolitan area.
Yes.
And giving you an opportunity to you know, further your education.
Yeah, there were a few times I had to go onto the main campus in Foggy Bottom for different things, for, you know, to go to the library or whatnot. And I mean, it's crowded. It's so crowded with the undergrad stuff. So definitely thankful that, you know, it was spread out more like that. But
yeah. All right. So then what happens? You're with your friends, you're paralegal, you're going to school at night. Eventually you graduate.
Yes.
And you finish your master's program.
Well, I guess I should jump back because somewhere in here, Luke enters the picture, right?
Okay.
When I was a paralegal living with friends on Capitol Hill, I met my husband and we dated for a few years. And I actually went to grad school. I started grad school the first year of our marriage. We got married. He had to deploy 2 weeks later. And I went to grad school while he was deployed for the first year of our marriage. So it was kind of like the worst first year of a marriage you can possibly imagine. Wow. He's in Baghdad and I'm just going, million miles an hour trying to work and go to school, but somehow it all worked out. So the great news is that in being married to him and going to GW's grad program was I got to use his GI Bill for my master's, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And so...
That wouldn't have been cheap.
No, yeah, definitely not. So very thankful in that regard. But yeah, so kind of overlaying my life story. I had met and married my husband before I went back to grad school.
And he was only there. You were married 2 weeks and you didn't see him for a full year? Or did he come back on R&Rs?
Yes. So it was a bit of a funny story. The whole year leading up to his deployment, it was sort of this will he or won't he, because the tour he had to go on was sort of on loan to the Army on a forward operating base outside of the Baghdad embassy. Mm-hmm. And it was right as Obama was pulling all of the troops back from Iraq, and all of the headline news was, no more troops in Iraq. Nobody's, we're not deploying anybody there. Yeah. Meanwhile, my husband's going there. So it was just kind of a weird kind of situation. So it was like delay. And then finally he knew he had to go. So he proposed to me on October 11th, and we got married on November 11th.
November 11th, 2011.
Yeah, 11/11/11. And literally the proposal was, we're doing this. I called your parents. 11/11. It's happening. Like I was just like, wait, what?
What?
Not the most romantic proposal, but he was a very logical guy, and he had it in his mind of like, I know I'm going on deployment. I know we need to be married, and we're gonna do it on 11/11/11 because A, that's a cool date, and B, it's your favorite number. So. He just was so, he was wrapped up in the whole process of having to deploy. But yes, So we got married November 11th. He was around for a week or two. I dropped him off. Oh gosh, where did I drop him? Virginia Beach, I guess, for intake. Yeah. And then he got shipped off to training somewhere. I want to say South Carolina. I should know this. But the weird thing was, again, with this, will he or won't he have to go to Baghdad, was after his training was done in South Carolina, they like paused his deployment date. So he was supposed to go straight away, and he kind of called me and said, hey, I need you to come pick me up. I'm not actually going until January. And at this point, he'd already packed up all his belongings.
Gotta love the military.
I mean, his car was in storage. And he basically just like lived in my roommate's house. I still lived with roommates at the time, and he just lived in my basement with me for a few weeks. And it was just the weirdest time. It was this like slow goodbye, right? Yeah. Of like, you're supposed to be on deployment by now, and you're still here, and you're living out of a suitcase with just a few shirts in it. Just so weird. Just a total.
It wasn't like any like book you ever read.
No.
Somebody gets married and there's this honeymoon and you start your life. No. Like, this is strange.
Yeah. It just was like, and it was so stressful leading up to it, this whole back and forth that it was almost a relief when when I finally dropped him off at the airport, in the sense of like, okay, this is finally happening, and now we can move forward in it, right?
With the plan.
Yeah, I don't like all the lead up to it, but yeah, he went on January and he came back in December. We got to meet up for R&R for 2 weeks. Yeah, you could come home, sure. He could have just come back and just hang out with us for 2 weeks, but we decided to make it our honeymoon, and we met up in Croatia.
Yeah.
And just did a whole tour of Croatia, which was amazing. I wanted to go to Greece, but he'd been to Greece a bunch of times in all his Navy travels. And yeah, he had never been to Croatia. It was a wonderful time. We had a great time. So
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Sure.
You then at some point you leave Virginia.
Yes.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember what I remember on the time frame. So help me walk through. At some point you come back to Huntsville. That wasn't just 2018 though, right?
Yeah, no, we'd never been to Huntsville before.
Okay.
We came down in 2018.
So he comes back from deployment. You start your family.
Yep. We're living in Alexandria, Virginia. I finish up grad school. I get a job. He gets a job, or he continues to work. He was still in the Navy at that point, working for National Geospatial Intelligence as a congressional liaison. And then he eventually retires.
Was he going to Belvoir? Is that where his office was for NGA? Do you remember?
Yes, the new building down in Springfield.
Yeah,
yep.
The new Campus East.
He was in a different location as that was getting built. But once it was built, he transitioned there, but was up on Capitol Hill a lot doing the congressional liaison stuff.
Okay.
He pivots out and starts doing consulting work for. His first one was SPA, Specialized Planning and Analysis, also in Alexandria. And we keep doing this thing with, as most people do in DC, you have a couple kids and you kind of look at life and say, where do we want to plant roots, right? And it was always this struggle for several years of, do we want to live close in? Do we want to move further out? I know we've talked about where, you've lived out all the way out in Virginia. And it just, nothing ever made sense. It was like fitting a square peg in a round hole. We just couldn't make it make sense. And so he got a really, really great offer to work with a group that needed folks in Huntsville to support the FBI expansion on Redstone Arsenal. Mm-hmm. And he sort of got the offer and said, I don't know, Alabama, Huntsville? And I was like, no, it's in Appalachia. At the time I was working for Appalachian Regional Commission. I had a lot of friends who were like, no, Huntsville's a great city. You should check it out, all this stuff. And after doing a little bit of research online and coming down for a weekend, we put an offer on a house, and it was like done, like just so fast and furious. But it was like, it just all made sense. Like all the stars were aligning. Like, yes, this is where we want to be. This is where we want to raise our family. The housing affordability down here compared to DC, it's like a quick sell. We put an offer in a house, and we moved down 4th of July 2018. So mostly for his role on the Arsenal, and then I was able to work remotely for Appalachia Regional Commission. ARC let me work from a home office temporarily. Yeah. And then I got the gig with TARCOG, which was just a natural kind of, moving over from to the local side from the federal side when, they are kind of our funding partner, and it just made a lot of sense. So.
Were you familiar with the TARCOG?
I was, yeah. Nancy Robertson, the former executive director, she was one of the first people I met with when I came down here. We talked about different things, and she was super excited that we were down here and that I was still working for ARC. And when the job I have now came open, she said, would you be interested in it? I mean, she really put me up for it. So
that's awesome.
She's been my kind of Huntsville guardian angel the whole time we've been here. So
were you renting in DC?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was your first purchase.
Yes,
together.
And that was the thing. We've been going to house opening after house opening, trying to figure out where we were going to move, and nothing ever made sense. So yeah, this was our first big house purchase, and we were really excited about it. It's our dream home. We live in Jones Valley. It's just phenomenal. We love it. So. And
you had 2 kids at the time?
2 kids at the time. My son was 3, and my middle daughter was maybe 1.5 when we moved. Yeah.
And then how soon before your third was born?
Oh man, pretty quick. I mean, it's like a fishbowl. If you grow into a big fishbowl, you're like, oh, we should fill this fishbowl up, right? We kind of coming down, we kind of knew we wanted to have a third. And so, God, it must have been just a few months after we moved down, because we moved on 4th of July, and then my due date was 4th of July the following year, which was kind of a serendipitous thing. She was born on July 8th, but about a year after we moved, we had Jessie, and she is 3 now. So it's been a great time. I mean, we just we kept pinching ourselves about Huntsville. I know you talked to a lot of different people about moving down here. when you don't really know of Huntsville, you don't really know of this area. And we've just been so lucky. I mean, we've loved it down here, and it's been great to like really set roots and know that this is where we're going to raise our kids and not have to worry or stress about what the next step is, you know.
Where did this favorite number 11 come from? Was that your volleyball number and your basketball number?
Yeah.
And
my birthday is September 11th.
Oh, that's right. Which takes on a whole nother meeting now.
Yeah. So birthday September 11th, proposed October 11th, married November 11th. So it's kind of a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think growing up, my siblings and I, we always used our birthday dates as our jersey numbers and as our favorite numbers, you know. So yeah.
Wow. So what was that like for you on September 11, 2001? You were in high school?
I was a freshman or sophomore in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah, I mean,
Jeez.
It was.
And that was probably, it was about 7, almost 8 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah. I remember distinctly we had a quiz in some class, and they pulled us out after the quiz, and we all went into the assembly room to watch the news coverage of it. I remember, it's funny, our high school team, my high school volleyball team, had a plan to go. Our coach had some connection in New York. He was from New York or something, and we had fundraised to go to a volleyball tournament up in New York. So we were all supposed to fly the next day to New York City, and it was like, well, clearly we're not going. You know, it was just weird. It was a weird situation to. You know, it's your birthday and you want to celebrate your birthday, but at the same time, you can't. Not on a day like that. No, but yeah, it's funny. Anytime I get carded or anything, people always are like, "Oh, September 11th." It's like, yeah. So that's my birthday. But
and I feel bad if I even react that way. You know, but you just it's like human nature.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, because it all affected us.
Right, 100%. Luke would tell me stories about how Luke was older than me. He's 15 years older than me. And so he told me that day I think he was stationed in Virginia Beach, and he was a pilot at that time, and they all just got up in the air and they were just like going, like he said he just would like circle, like doing surveillance almost or something, just kind of like monitoring in the air up in a helicopter. But yeah, we all have our stories from that day, you know, of like, where were you or what were you doing? Or how did that feel? So
I was in DC, and I was, I wasn't in DC, but I was about 20 miles west of the Pentagon and 9th floor of a building, and we could just see the smoke. Yeah. You know, you're watching TV and you're watching the coverage and you're looking out the window and like, is this real?
Yeah, it's so crazy.
And my grandparents' house was in McLean, and we went straight there and took our kids and just hung out with family, and it was weird to hear aircraft in the air, which were fighter jets, right? But you know, you were scared if there was anything but your military aircraft in the sky. Yeah. Because it's, for once, we were living in this fear.
Right. Absolutely.
Of that.
Yeah. So many of my friends and colleagues from DC all have those stories of like, you couldn't get out of the city, you had to walk out, you know, just the strangeness of that day and how, it kind of turned your whole world upside down for sure.
So, let's talk about Luke then.
Sure.
So unfortunately in July of last year.
Yes.
Just, give whatever details you want on that.
Sure.
And then there's a couple of very important things I think you mentioned that we should talk about.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Related to it.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to me that our story of this, you know, the story of this podcast, Our Town, the idea that we finally found where we wanted to set our roots after that struggle in Virginia, and Luke was just thriving. I mean, he loved the work he was doing. He was partnering with Rob Hamilton on a bunch of different FBI related contracts in his new role. He loved how our kids were thriving in the schools they're thriving in, all the things we would go out and do, go hiking on the weekends. I think he really loved our life. And even despite the pandemic, you know, we were really enjoying life down here in Huntsville. And yeah, last July, he went to bed one night and he didn't wake up the next morning. And you know, there's a lot of thoughts on how that happened or why that happened. But it was something that we never even contemplated. And I think that's, if I have a microphone and if I have anybody listening to talk about this storyline of my life, it's that, you know, life is just so incredibly fragile and precious, and you never know that something like that could happen. Right. And so I would just say, it's taught me so many things. It's taught me a lot about trauma. It's taught me a lot about grief. It's taught me a lot about how people walk through their lives just having had those experiences. And I was very, very privileged and very blessed that prior to this, I'd never experienced anything traumatic, or I never had anybody die unexpectedly or anything like that. And so I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite understand. I wasn't quite as empathetic or compassionate as I probably should have been. And just, I don't know, something about this experience. I just really, I see people differently. I see, when you interact with a coworker at work and they're maybe struggling a little bit, you kind of have to take in perspective that they might have something on their minds, right? That they might have experienced something and maybe it's the anniversary of it, or maybe they've been reminded of it or something like that. The other story is, because Luke was a Navy pilot and there's a certain kind of superhero ego mentality that comes along with being a Navy pilot and flying off of aircraft carriers for a career. He thought he was convinced he was going to live to 100,
Yeah.
So there was no need to write a will. There was no need to organize his affairs.
Yeah.
There was no need to even, tell me his password to his phone or his computer, which I know sounds really weird. And it wasn't like a privacy thing. It was just I'm good. Like nobody need, I'm here.
Yeah.
And so in the immediate aftermath of that experience, trying to frantically get into his phone or frantically get into our safe, just understanding all of those things, those pieces. I could write a book to tell people, what I know now that I wish I had known prior.
Yeah.
Thankfully, everything's fine. I got everything sorted and organized. But I mean, as I said to you, that's the greatest gift anyone can leave behind in their passing, is just having everything well organized and everything sorted so that should you get hit by a bus tomorrow, your family isn't frantically
Yeah.
rifling through all of your things and trying to figure out and put pieces together for different, paperwork purposes. He interacted with a lot of people that would come in from out of town. He always was hosting folks down from DC in his role. And I had it in my mind that somebody was going to fly. Usually he meets them at the airport and he's their driver, right?
Yeah.
I was like, somebody's flying in right now that, he was supposed to meet or something. And so I'm trying to frantically get into his phone to let his boss know, and it's insane.
He worked for SAIC. Is that right?
He worked for SAIC, and he was doing business development on the FBI side and for FBI contracts. And
Yeah.
but there was always people coming and going, SAIC folks coming down from DC or whatnot. And I had it in my mind that it was a Friday. And I was like, he has some major meeting today that he's going to miss and they need to know. And I didn't know how to contact anybody. So even if you don't share that information, just putting it somewhere for your loved ones so that they know when things end that they can actually access all of the things you need to access in that moment. So
yeah, and not to dwell on it or spend any more time on it, but I also understand something you shared with me that, look, if you're 50, if you're 45, you're 55, and you're a male, go to the doctor.
Yes.
Listen to your body.
Yes.
And you had mentioned maybe about 2 weeks before that,
Right.
he was commenting on his heart rate didn't feel right, and he didn't feel right. And like you said, he's a Navy guy, right? He's invincible. He's a warrior.
Yeah. All the things.
He's in fine shape.
Oh yeah. He would do push-ups with the kids on his back and wrestle with them on the living room floor. I mean, he was a strong 6'4" broad, in shape guy, doing all the things with his kids, doing all the hauling rocks around our yard, our yard is at a severe incline. We're on a hill. And just I thought he was superhuman. But I think, in the 13, 14 years that I knew him, I can count on one hand the amount of times I saw him go to the doctor. And he turned 50 that year. He turned 50 in April and he died in July. And you'd think, okay, monumental birthday, you should go get checked up, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't. So that is the other thing, because I don't like to think that his death was entirely preventable, but it likely might have been had he been on some sort of medication for heart issues or heart palpitations or blood pressure or whatnot. So you never know. It never hurts to go to the doctor, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've learned that. I've instilled that in my kids. If we're ill, if we have a question, we're going to the doctor. So yes, absolutely.
And the other thing I shared with you when we met at Gold Sprint, right? Shout out to Gold Sprint.
Yes,
for people
we love that place.
who enjoy that. And my wife and I I shared with you that we had a friend whose husband had passed away. They left back behind 3 small kids. Their oldest was the same age as my son.
Yeah.
And when that happens, people need friends that can just
Yes.
help Sarah, in your case, move on with life.
Right.
Right. Not that it didn't happen, but you have to have some injection of normalcy, or life goes on, and not dwell on it.
Yeah.
And when you come over, hey, we're friends and we're going to work on all these things and we're going to do X, Y, and Z and have some activities, right?
Yes.
Can you comment on that? And has there been some
I
people
can.
in your life that...
Yes. People that I didn't even know that well are now just like family to me. Neighborhood friends, folks that are nearby around the corner that I can call upon at a moment's notice to help me with my kids or something like that. Absolutely. My kids go to Holy Spirit Regional Catholic School. The community there has been phenomenal to help us and assist us as needed. And really, my work, TARCOG, everyone that works there, the folks that I interact with across the region, everyone has been so wonderful and so giving and so helpful in my situation. I am truly, truly blessed in that regard.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without them. And I know people think, oh, I'm not helping all that much, like you are, even if it's just checking in, texting, calling, what have you, it matters. It all matters for sure. And you should not hesitate if you know somebody in that situation to just reach out. I've been very fortunate. And I think that speaks to Huntsville and speaks to this region that, people are so willing to help. There's such a volunteerism. There's such just a outpouring of support from folks that I didn't even know that well. And now we're tied together in this. It's been wonderful. I don't have any local family. We've never, knew of Huntsville before we moved here 4 years ago. So I've definitely have kind of grown a local family of folks that have really helped me through the hard times for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's transition over back to TARCOG.
Yes.
I have 2 things from before. Let me bring those back up. That I want that you've sent to me, and I want you to be able to comment on them because it's the current happenings. I got to remember where I put them. Here we go. So, observation comment. I really like the way this is laid out.
Oh, cool.
Certainly as a former project manager, program manager, I did a lot of briefings, briefings to government customers. A lot of it was know your audience. Are you doing the 25-page brief, or do you have 1 page and you better, not dilly-dally, or they're going to kick you out of the room because, you're taking too long. Right. But there's a ton of information here. It's well structured, but I want to give you the opportunity to talk about these 2 slides.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we hosted some legislative days. Every once in a while, we'll like to do something that, informs our state and local legislators of the work we do. And I provided this to you to kind of show the breadth or the depth of the work we do in our department, right? So this kind of breaks down different grants we've applied for, different planning services we've provided for one of our counties. So DeKalb County, for example, it shows different community development block grant or CDBG projects we do. These are critical infrastructure projects that serve low to moderate income communities. That's a HUD program. We do a lot of CDBG projects. So you're talking sewer system improvements to serve, maybe a public housing area, or roadway and drainage improvements in an area where there's low to moderate income neighborhoods. There's also different projects we've done through those ADECA programs, ARC, Land, Water, and Conservation Fund. Different things like getting Chromebooks for students in a classroom at Fort Payne City Schools, or we demolished an old hospital out in Fort Payne. This thing was a city block. It was a complex, like 3 different structures, cement block, just a huge 1940s hospital, totally blighted, was being used for all sorts of illicit activities, really unsafe, kids climbing in there that shouldn't be climbing in there, stuff happening in there that shouldn't be happening in there. And it's expensive to tear something like that down. And the city of Fort Payne didn't really have it in their budget. And so we applied for grants. There's some HUD money out there that helps with blighted areas and demolition of blighted structures. And we were able to get that whole thing torn down. And now they're going to revitalize and redevelop that whole city block into a park or other community services. So it's just stuff like that we're, kind of highlighting here. Side note, I made these entirely myself. I am not a advertising or marketing person, but I'm really excited to say that TARCOG, we are kind of rolling out a whole new logo, a whole new website, and we're going to have all these different one-pagers available. So our organizations, we've just never done a very good job of kind of highlighting the work we do. And so I've been trying in my, almost 3 years at TARCOG, trying to kind of develop things like this where you can just get a quick one-page snapshot of the type of work we do. And it just gives our legislators an explanation of all the things we do with the money we receive. So yeah.
Okay.
And the next one is just for Jackson County. It's similar. But yeah, some pictures of some of the projects we've done, road improvements, again, a lot of just grants we've gone after, and talks about our revolving loan fund on there as well. But yeah, just trying to give people a better understanding of the work we do. It's hard when you say TARCOG and they think of the Area Agency on Aging. They don't think of all these different economic development projects we also do too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is it, do you have an annual conference coming up? Or
yes, so there's an association of our 12 regional councils. It's called the Alabama Association, or the Association of Alabama Regional Councils, AARC. That's a mouthful as well. And so they are hosting a conference down at the beach. I believe it's in Perdido in late October, and that's where we'll bring our staff, we'll bring our board members, we'll bring others that we work with, other organizations that work alongside us. I think John's going to present on the Singing River Trail down there. But yeah, it's just a great opportunity to bring us all together and kind of learn best practices from one another. And we do that every year.
Okay.
So I recommend it to anyone that wants to join us and learn more about the COGs.
One thing I should have mentioned earlier, but the screen that we're looking at now, for those that are watching this, I took a lot of pictures from their Facebook page, some stuff that Sarah sent me.
Yes.
And a lot of these are just events, right? It's got
Right.
some good candid shots, and there was some stuff at Toyota Field at the Pandas game. There's one right there.
Yes.
With some ladies hanging out, enjoying the game.
We did a TARCOG staff day at Trash Pandas. That was really fun. It's just a great opportunity to get everybody out of their offices and kind of away for an afternoon and spend some time together. Trash Pandas, having that asset there is just phenomenal. Being able to kind of go over there and have a good time at the game. A lot of our Facebook stuff is related to our Area Agency on Aging side. They do a lot of events, a lot of things to get people to know more about all the different services they provide. Like I said, could be a whole nother podcast, but definitely check out our Facebook page. I know part of our new website push is we're going to be on Instagram. We're going to have a better presence on LinkedIn. So I'm hopeful that this podcast is coming right at the right time, that y'all will check out our website, which will be hopefully, it should be any day now. I know that they were targeting the end of August, which is today.
Yeah.
So within the next week or so, we should have a flashy brand new website. So.
Well, as my mother is now in a home assisted living in Decula, Georgia. So we always call and check on her, but I think she's participating in activities and such, but I'm certainly one that is very appreciative of all the money and funding, and whether it's a public thing or a private thing, to go to our seniors, right? And
absolutely.
to keep them comfortable, right, for their remaining days.
Yes. Well, one of the slides I had, it showed that we're a rapidly growing region. We're growing by 12%. But that growth is also retirees. So our aging population is increasing at a faster rate than most places. So it's very important for our region to focus on the aging population and senior citizens and make sure that we're providing them every assistance that they need. So absolutely.
All right, we're gonna do the pick six.
Okay.
I'm not gonna necessarily call it a game.
Okay.
I mentioned this in the last episode, which hasn't been published yet, so you wouldn't know.
Okay.
But I'm kind of changing my approach on it. But essentially, I've prepared 6 pictures. There might be more because they're fun.
Okay.
Of things that you shared, and if anything, what it does is elicit additional conversation for you and I. Do you recognize this?
I do. My dad has a bunch of historic cameras kind of displayed in cabinets around our house. My dad's a professional photographer, and I kind of got the photography bug from him, but I don't know that he has a
Yashica G. So this is what I used in 8th grade photography.
That's awesome. That's great.
And I have no idea. You took photography.
I did.
You were the yearbook editor.
Yes.
And I have no idea if they were using old-fashioned cameras to teach kids how to process film and go into the dark room. And
yes. I had a Pentax K1000 and just, you pulled a little lever and point and click, maybe with a different lens on it or two. But yes, I definitely grew up right at the cusp of digital photography. So I was all in on the dark room, developing your own film in pitch black, all of that. And my dad taught me everything in his dark room. But then also being part of the digital age of learning how to do different things with digital photography as well. Yes.
Do you remember the order of the chemicals that you put it in?
Oh gosh.
I only remember like 2.
I can see it in front of me, but I can't remember.
Stop bath
yeah,
was one. Fixer was another.
I think so.
But I think there was a third.
Yeah.
But I think it was
another
stop bath, fixer, and then...
Yeah, and to see the developer as it was
Yeah.
like the picture would come to life on there. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, that takes me back.
They
I would
would-
love to do that again sometime.
They would charge us like... I was on the yearbook staff too, mostly just for social, right? To hang out with some of my buddies and
Yeah.
some girls that we liked. And they would charge us 10 cents if we wanted to do it like an 8x10.
Oh.
So we'd take some cool pictures on these cameras.
Yes.
And then,
if you wanted to blow it up, you had to pay a little
So
bit.
did you do black and white then?
I did, yes. Yep. Love black and white photography. I have a bunch of it around my house, my dad's stuff, and my brother's been an artist his whole life as well, so I have some of his art as well.
All right, this is going to be somewhat of a surprise to me. I can't remember what order I put these in, and it doesn't really matter, but we're going to go this way. Tell me about this picture.
Dubrovnik, yes.
So for those
Oh, man.
listening, you need to explain what we're looking at.
King's Landing, Game of Thrones. No. Yes, for those listening, we have a picture of Dubrovnik, Croatia. It's the walled city that also has been featured in Game of Thrones as King's Landing, if you have seen those shots as well. I went there on my honeymoon with Luke and we walked the wall. You can walk the whole thing, but just phenomenal place to visit for sure. Just gorgeous.
It seemed like I've never been to Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was this beautiful till I just was starting to look at some pictures I wanted to share with you. And it seemed like kind of like I've been to Sydney, Australia, and like the Sydney Harbor, like there's a million shots of the bridge, right? And the Opera House. And this seems to be like something where there's 100 different angles that people have shot of what is it called again?
Dubrovnik, yeah.
But definitely like a masterpiece.
Yes, and as it's become such a tourist destination, I just really appreciate that they have, because it's a walled city and because everything inside the wall is so historic, they've really kept it that way, and they've not really allowed a lot of development or change to take place inside, and it feels like you're stepping back in time when you go into those walls. Yeah, it's a great place to visit.
All right, here's the next one.
There's also Dubrovnik, yes. Different angle. But you can see how it's all historic buildings inside. So just like I said, cool step back in time.
You were talking about it and I didn't really realize it until I saw it visually that it is like a whole perimeter thing.
Yes, and you can walk it. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay, next one. And I think we're still in Croatia here.
Oh, gosh.
This is just, I guess, a nice shot of a village.
Oh man, yeah, you're taking me back. This is awesome. All these coastal towns. I mean, it's been undeveloped. I don't know if it's changing now that so many people are visiting. It's become kind of the hot place to go these days. But just cool to see how they used to build things.
And what made you choose Croatia? I mean, other than, hey, Luke, I don't want you coming back here and you're gonna, we're not sleeping in our roommate's basement.
Right.
Why did you choose? He had been to Greece.
He'd been to Greece. My suggestion was Greece, and I wanted to go somewhere Mediterranean.
Yeah.
I'd been to Italy before. He'd been to Italy before. And I think I just had a friend that suggested Croatia, saying, "Oh, I've heard Croatia's like Greece, but what Greece was 50 years ago. Okay. Greece before Greece became, overly touristy." And so we looked into it, and it was really affordable, and we're just like, "Yeah, let's do this." Okay. So it was cool.
And there's
at the Colosseum in Rome.
I don't know. That might have snuck in there.
Or part of, and I know they have a Colosseum in Croatia as well. We didn't go to it, but
I think this is in Croatia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a picture of what.
Yeah.
We'll wait you next time you go.
Similar. Yeah, I want to go back for sure.
Okay, so now, did your dad take any? This is like, I think like an old time photography company. Yeah. I love pictures like this.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh,
a lot of it is just talk to me. So for those listening, this is just a little boy. This is kind of a black and white photo.
Yeah.
But having your dad being a professional photographer, you had a penchant for photography. Talk to me what you see in this picture.
Oh man, well that's definitely a studio shot with the backdrop and different different props. My dad did have a studio in our basement that was part of his dark room where he had all the things that you could pull down and have different designs behind you. My dad, who for whatever reason, really focused on commercial photography for businesses. Headshots were kind of as close as he got to something like this.
Okay.
But we definitely would take family photos. The three of us, me, my sister, and my brother, kind of would stand in front of one of these kind of things in his studio in our basement, and he would take big. We have different, childhood photos in that regard, but
Okay.
he didn't really advertise his services for other folks to do personal photos, really.
Well, as someone who's struggling with making my lighting good in the studio, this seems like this is a really well lit shot of this little boy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now here's what do you think about when you see this picture?
Oh,
Does this remind you of Texas at all?
a little bit. Yeah. Some parts of Alabama too. I feel like that's could be in Limestone County almost. Yeah, I love doing photography like this. Ansel Adams, the big landscape shots. I spent a lot of time out west going to different national parks and have a lot of different black and white photos from the Grand Canyon and from all the different national parks that I visited. So it definitely is reminiscent of that with the big sky, lots of clouds in the background. So
Wendy, this looks like a lot of homes we've seen in Illinois. She's from corn country, and
yes, that
you
is.
just kind of have that farmhouse, and there's usually a few mature trees surrounding it to provide some shade.
Yeah.
Awesome clouds.
Yes.
My aunt and uncle are here in Alabama. They're from the West, and they were commenting on how much they didn't realize how just the cloud formations here are wonderful. When when you're up in a higher altitude, you don't get those as much.
True. Yeah.
And here's another
Oh,
shot.
I love this one. This is stuff like my dad has that like we have framed around our family house. Like he would have such an eye for things like this where you're just driving down the road and you just see a cool old building and a cool old car and it all lines up with there's the American flag and In God We Trust. I mean, this is very reminiscent of something my dad would take. He has this photo of these like a gang of boys on old school bicycles, and like there's a big painted sign behind them that's like boys restroom this way or something. It's just like just like when those things line up together really well. But that's a cool shot. I like that one.
I think I have one more. Nope, that's
it. That's cool. Yeah, fun little photography.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love it.
All right, we're gonna play. Now you're gonna be the beneficiary of getting to play 2 games.
Oh, okay.
So now we're gonna do the quick 6.
Okay. All right.
A lot of times I will tease that. No one has like called me on it and beat me up and said, "Hey, you said you were going to do the quick 6 and the pick 6 with the guest."
Oh, yeah.
So you're definitely going to get to play
both
of them.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I'm here. Yes.
First one. You like amusement parks?
I do. Yeah.
So when you go to your amusement park and you pay your money, maybe you pay your money nowadays, right? You do it online. You get an app, right? You get a discount code. All right, you're in the park. What's one thing you have to do and experience before you leave that day? Doesn't have to be the first thing you do, but like you go to an amusement park and on your short list of Sarah, have to do this, ride this ride or do this thing or play this game. What is that?
Definite roller coaster. Yeah.
Okay.
Like immediate, let's go find the coolest, largest, scariest roller coaster. I've always enjoyed roller coasters, even as a kid. Kansas City growing up, Worlds of Fun. For those of you that know Worlds of Fun, great place. We would always go there and ride the roller coasters for sure.
What was your favorite, or
gosh,
what's Worlds of Fun known for?
They have a wooden roller coaster that was always so scary as a kid because it's just so rattly and I can't remember the name of it, and I don't even know if they still have it, honestly. But and then they got some higher tech, like smoother roller coasters, kind of built in when I was older. But yeah, I'd say go, if you're going to an amusement park, you're going to ride a roller coaster.
Did you have a Six Flags near you in Houston? Or
probably. I think so. I just didn't. I don't think I went for whatever reason. When the fair would roll into town, with like the Houston Rodeo, obviously that didn't have a roller coaster. It wasn't as large of an amusement park, but we'd always go to the fair with the Houston Rodeo when it would come in. Loved riding those rides.
When you were in DC, did you ever go down to Busch Gardens and or King's Dominion?
I didn't go, but I knew of it, and
Yeah.
I think I was just a little too old to have a reason to go down there.
Sure.
I didn't have kids yet, that kind of thing. But gosh, it's been a while since I've been to an amusement park. I did take my kids to the Trash Pandas.
Oh yeah.
When they have the carnival
Yeah.
roll through there, they love that. That's always a good time. We love the swings, we love the Ferris wheel, all
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, second question. Favorite color?
Green.
Dark green, light green? Does it matter?
Yeah, I guess lighter. I don't know.
Okay.
Green.
Do you go to the movies a lot? Do you like to go to the movies?
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to think the last movie I went to. It's been a while. And with kids, it's usually a kids thing. But yeah, I used to like to go to the movies.
So when you go to the movies, and nowadays it seems like you can't have a movie theater unless everything fully reclines. So that's nice. You sit
Right.
there and you recline your feet. What snacks?
Oh, popcorn.
Just popcorn?
Popcorn and a drink. But yeah, probably just popcorn.
What kind of drink? Oh, it's just be soda.
Soda, yeah. Something to wash down on the salty popcorn with. But yeah, I'm pretty standard. I always go for salty over sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your kids, I actually gave this question to John Kavach as well, but the question is, they're going to come up to you and say, "Hey mom, how come we haven't done this in a while? We want to go and do this. What is that?"
Oh gosh.
We're dying to go back in.
I would say they often ask when we're going to go back to Little River Canyon. So I took them out to Fort Payne. Little River Canyon, it's a U.S., it's a federally designated natural site out there. And you can wade in right above the falls there. And my kids love anything to do with wading into the water and being able to, play out in nature. And so they've definitely, they've actually recently asked me, like, when are we going to go back out there and when do we get to go back to Little River Canyon? They love all things like that. I'm always looking for adventures in the region to take them to. I've taken them to Gunnersville. I've taken them into the Paint Rock Valley and in Jackson County, but they love going out and being in water or in the woods. So they've asked us about Little River Canyon. They've asked me about Little River Canyon recently. Yeah.
Awesome. Because I was going to ask a question kind of like that, and I think you answered it.
Yeah.
Kind of within the TARCOG.
Yes.
Where would be a good destination? And it sounds like that's
yeah.
a good answer.
There's so many. I could just rattle off a list. And that's part of what I'm so excited about with the Singing River Trails, like connecting people to these places. Jackson County has a plethora of cool natural sites. I think you mentioned Walls of Jericho when you were talking with John. I mean, Russell Cave National Monument is in Jackson County. It has some of these prehistoric cave drawings and things. There's all these places that are just not advertised at all. Really cool places to go. If you're into spelunking or searching caves, there's tons of caves to explore. A fern cave in Paint Rock. I mean, there's just so many places. Gunnersville has a lot of awesome places around as well. But just High Falls, you mentioned High Falls.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we did a grant for them to put in a kayak and canoe launch so that people can access the river easier there. Just rich with waterfalls and natural places to go and explore in our region.
We've gone to Smith Lake twice.
Yes.
And our most recent trip there, it's all about trying to find rocks they can jump, that aren't on someone's private property. But, and we found one, I think it's about 35 feet. Now, I didn't do it. Like my limit's like 15, maybe 20. And even then it just hurts.
Oh gosh.
It hurts to ride roller coasters.
Yeah.
It hurts to jump in the water
Yes.
as you get older,
Yes.
and I'm not scared. It hurts. It doesn't feel the same.
Right.
And I'm sick for a day because I jumped once.
Yeah.
But we found a really good rock down in Smith Lake.
Cool. Very cool.
And, of course, teenagers love it, right?
Oh, of course. Yes.
They would if they could, they would like not only get to the top of the rock, they would probably climb the tree and jump from 60 feet. Because they want to.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So that kind of leads me into my next question. So you're heading to the beach tomorrow.
Yes.
But we also have Smith Lake and Gunnersville Lake and things around here in the river.
Yeah.
So really, what is your preferred vacation? A lake vacation or beach?
Probably beach, just because it feels more special and different. Because we have such great access to these places, and like I said, like just this last weekend, we were out in the Paint Rock River Valley, just wading. So beach feels special to my kids. It feels different, it's a different vibe, a different kind of laid back feel. So I'd say probably we're more of a beach family than, and we just have it right in our backyard here, so it doesn't feel as significant, I guess you could say. But
okay,
my husband grew up on a lake and was world-class jet skier or water skier, I mean. And he always had the dream of living on a lake one day with the kids and teaching them that. And so maybe one day we'll pivot in that way. But for now, I think we're beach.
Where
family.
did he grow up? What?
He grew up in Arlington, Virginia,
He
but
did grow up
they had a lake house out in
Lake Anna.
Lake Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it was right near there.
Smith Mountain Lake?
No, it's a even smaller. I can't remember the name of it, but it was near Fredericksburg. And Lake of the Woods. Of the Woods.
Okay.
But it was a small, like, kind of smaller lake near Lake Anna that had a community around it, and they'd be out there every weekend doing stuff. So I think one day, maybe if it makes sense, I'll find my way to a lake with the kids. Yeah.
Okay, so here's so you're from Kansas City. You've spent time in Texas. You played your volleyball in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. So you're a sports fan. So this is you have an opportunity to have a new volleyball team.
Okay? Oh gosh!
Let's just say that maybe they're tapping you. Hey Sarah, we need someone to be a coach. For whatever school. I want you. What is your preferred color set? Now you've said your favorite color is green, but if you could now design volleyball uniform.
Yeah.
For this team, home and away.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever thought about this.
Oh yeah, sure.
Please describe it for me.
Just blue and gold.
Blue and gold.
Yeah, blue and gold were Smith colors and Navy colors, and so Luke and I always loved that we both had the same college colors. So yeah, navy blue and gold would probably be my color scheme of choice for a team I was putting together.
So would like the body of the shirt be blue, gold, blue, and then like the sleeves gold?
Sure, yeah, navy blue majority with gold. Maybe white accents, but that's just because it's the team colors I grew up with, I guess. Duchenne had similar colors, so it's just been kind of that through line in my my sports has always been kind of around navy blue and gold colors. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because I work for Mantech, and part of the reason I like Mantech, I like the colors, because they're my high school colors.
Oh, that's cool.
Black, red, and yellow, or black, red, and white.
Yeah, you kind of get used to those color schemes for whatever reason, but yeah.
Isn't that strange? You're like, maybe I'll just work for Mantech the rest of my life because they have the right colors.
Yes, right. That's awesome.
But having said that, maybe I should change the Our Town podcast to match my high school colors.
Yeah. Well, I like it. It's funny you say that though, because TARCOG in our new logo and our new kind of website, we're adding more navy blue into it, and I'm like excited about that.
From you? Did you?
I don't think I don't know that I suggested, but I just like seeing the color palette kind of shift in that way. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this because it's got my my favorite color in it or whatever. So
I think I mentioned this in episode 24 with Dylan Smith, but I've actually, and you can see it here, I've changed my logo to remove the Huntsville portion. It said Huntsville, Alabama on that main logo.
Yeah.
And then I've added Our Town podcast to, let me just switch over to that logo.
Okay.
And part of that is, as now we're episode 25, you're on from the TARCOG. I've actually had a couple people I've reached out to, hey, I want you to be a guest. And they're like, oh, actually I live in Birmingham and it doesn't look like you do. Birmingham guests. Like, no, I do.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to be more, look, it's anything Alabama.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just the town of Huntsville. I live in Madison, right? We're proud to be from the 256.
Yep.
We're proud to be from the TARCOG. We're proud to be from Alabama or North Alabama.
Right.
Or north of the river, south of the river, right? We're very tribal that way.
Yes.
Where I'm proud to be in my homeowner thing and not that homeowner group. And I'm in the James Clemens High School District and not Bob Jones. And that's just the way we are as people.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm trying to now make the shift of, it's inclusive of all of Alabama, so that when people like you come on and talk about Jackson County and DeKalb County, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's what we're here to do and to discuss.
I think Huntsville's attracting a lot of new eyes and a lot of new people from across the nation. I think Huntsville's and North Alabama in general is a great landing pad, but then you kind of look around and you say, wow, there's more to this state. There's more, cool ideas, cool places to visit. I mean, I went to Birmingham for the first time and spent a weekend there with my kids, went to the zoo, did a whole thing, went to the science museum there. And I'm looking around, I'm like, this is an awesome city. And
Yeah.
I hate that, like, sometimes from the outside perspective, Alabama gets a bit of a bad rap. And so I think anything that we can do as kind of the funnel of new eyes and ears can say, hey, yeah, Huntsville's great, but so is North Alabama, but so is the rest of the state. You know, go check out Mobile, go down to the beach, check out Montgomery. There's some really cool things happening there. So just, I wholeheartedly agree with you that yes, it's a bigger play. It's not just Huntsville. I think that idea of, again, rising tide lifts all boats. And so we look at that from a regional perspective. We look at it from a North Alabama perspective. But some people, I mean, a lot of people should be looking at Huntsville lifting that tide for the whole state. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sara James, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Any final thoughts, shout outs?
No, I'm so excited that TARCOG got an opportunity to be on a platform like this. There's not a lot of people that know exactly what we do, and so I'd hope that if anyone listens to this and has any further questions, that they would reach out.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
I know we didn't spend too much time talking about your siblings, but I mention this with every guest. Like it's selfishly a great experience for me to learn about people's families.
Yeah.
I don't know your parents, but it seems like the three kids they have. Yeah. They've done a great job.
Yes.
You've lived a good life.
Yes.
You're living a good life.
Yep.
You've got a great family. And, all the best to you as you move forward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Take care.
Thanks.